I am 91 years old, and I haven't spoken a single word out loud to another human being in 4 days. The house is very quiet now. It is just me, the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway, and the dust motes floating in the afternoon sun that filters through the living room blinds. I sit in this armchair by the window for most of the day. I watch the street. I watch the delivery drivers pull up, rush to a porch, drop a box, and speed away. I watch people walking their dogs, always checking their phones, always looking down, their minds a million miles away from the sidewalk they are standing on. They all look so busy. They all look like they have somewhere incredibly important to be. I used to walk exactly like that. I used to move through the world as if I were the center of a very urgent storm. I thought the rushing was the point of it all. I thought the exhaustion at the end of the day was the receipt that proved I was a good man doing good things. Now I just sit here, and in the absolute heavy silence of this empty house, I finally understand what my life was actually made of. And I understand, entirely too late, what I threw away. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s, I thought life was a series of boxes you had to check to prove your worth. You get the education, you secure the job, you buy the house, you provide. I was a provider. That was my identity. I wore it like a heavy iron coat, and I was proud of the weight of it. I worked in middle management for a regional logistics company, routing freight, managing warehouse quotas. My life smelled like stale coffee and dry erase markers. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, and then it paid for the bigger house, and then it paid for the nicer cars. I thought that by working myself to the bone, by staying late at the office, by taking on the extra projects and answering calls during dinner, I was loving my family. I thought love was a paycheck. I thought love was a full refrigerator, a paid-off mortgage, and a college fund. Nobody tells you that you can do everything right on paper and still get the whole thing entirely, disastrously wrong. My wife, Helen, she was a quiet woman, patient, too patient probably. She used to ask me to just sit with her in the evenings, not to go out, not to spend money, just to sit on the back porch after the kids were in bed and listen to the crickets. I need to review these routing sheets for tomorrow, I would tell her, loosening my tie and spreading papers out on the dining table. Just give me an hour. But the hour always turned into 2 or 3. And by the time I finally packed up my briefcase and went upstairs, the house was dark. Helen was already asleep, the bedside lamp switched off, her back turned toward my side of the bed. I thought it was fine. I thought, we have tomorrow, we have the weekend, we have retirement, we have all the time in the world to just sit. That is the greatest, most devastating lie you will ever tell yourself. You tell yourself you have time. The damage doesn't happen all at once. It is not an explosion. It is a slow, quiet leak. It is the gradual erosion of intimacy, day by day, choice by choice. I rationalized everything. I told myself I was a good husband and a good father because I didn't drink, I didn't gamble, I didn't cheat. I just worked. I hid inside my work because it was measurable. If I worked hard, I saw the numbers go up. If I worked hard, I got a pat on the back from a regional director whose name I can barely remember now. But a family isn't measurable. You don't get a promotion for listening to your 10-year-old talk about his day. You don't get a bonus for noticing that your wife is tracing the rim of her teacup, trying to find the words to tell you she's lonely. I remember my son Michael playing baseball. He wasn't very good, but he loved it. I missed game after game because of client meetings I was convinced would make or break my career. I remember the look on his face one Saturday morning when I told him I couldn't make the playoffs. He didn't throw a fit. He didn't cry. He just looked down at his scuffed rubber cleats, tapped them together, nodded, and said, "Okay, Dad." And he never asked me to come to another game. That is how you lose them. Not in a screaming match, not in a dramatic door-slamming exit. They just stop expecting you to be there. They adapt to your absence. They build their inner lives around the empty space where you were supposed to stand. I remember a family vacation we took to the lake when Michael was 12 and my daughter Sarah was 10. It was supposed to be a week of nothing but fishing, swimming, and sunburns. I brought my briefcase. I told myself I would only work in the early mornings before they woke up. But a supply chain issue arose at the office. The pager went off. I sat at the wooden table inside the cabin, looking through the screen door, watching Helen and the kids splashing in the water down by the dock. I promised myself I would join them as soon as I fixed just one more issue. I can still hear the slap of the water against the wood. I can still hear Sarah calling out, "Watch me jump, Dad." I raised my hand, gave a little distracted wave from behind the mesh screen, and went back to my paperwork. I thought I was securing their future. I didn't realize I was trading their present for a future that wasn't guaranteed to any of us. The years slip through your fingers like water. You turn 40 and you think you are in the thick of it. You turn 50 and you start to notice the gray in your hair and the ache in your knees. But you are still pushing, still climbing, still waiting for that mythical day when you can finally rest. I got the promotions. I got the corner office. I paid off the mortgage on this big, beautiful house. And the house just got quieter. The kids grew up and moved away. They called on Sundays. Polite, brief, obligatory conversations. "How are you, Dad?" "I'm good, doing well, working hard." "That's good. We're pretty busy here too." I know. Go do what you need to do." We became strangers who shared a last name and a history, because I never put in the time to know who they were becoming. I only knew how to pay for the lives they were living without me. Helen got sick the year I finally retired. I was 65. I had finally packed up my desk. We had all these plans. We were going to travel to Europe. We were going to take the train across the country. I was finally, after 40 years, going to sit on the porch with her and do absolutely nothing. But she started feeling tired. Then came the doctor's appointments, then the tests. The doctor sat us down in a sterile little room with no windows and told us there was nothing more they could do. 6 months, maybe less. It felt like a physical blow, like the breath had been permanently knocked out of my lungs. All those hours I had saved up, all that deferred time, all the tomorrows and next weekends and some days I had banked on, they vanished into thin air in a single sentence. I took care of her, of course I did. For those 5 months I didn't look at a single financial statement. I didn't care about the news. I didn't care about the stock market, the property taxes, or the state of the world. I just sat by her bed. I brought her water. I rubbed her feet. I held her hand while she slept. I listened to the steady, shallow rhythm of her breathing. And the most agonizing, heartbreaking part of it all was realizing how incredibly easy it was to just be there. It required nothing but my presence. It didn't cost a dime. Why had it been so impossible for me to do this when she was healthy? Why did it take the absolute end of everything for me to finally stop moving and sit still with the woman I loved? One night, near the very end, she woke up and looked at me. Her face was pale, her hands so thin they were almost translucent. She squeezed my fingers. She smiled a very small, very tired smile, and she said, "You gave us a good life, David, but I just wanted you." I broke. I laid my head on the edge of the mattress, and I wept like a child. I sobbed until my ribs ached, because in that moment, the ledger of my life finally balanced out, and I saw exactly what I owed and exactly what I had lost. I had bought her a house, but I hadn't given her a husband. I had bought my children an education, but I hadn't given them a father. She died 3 days later. That was 26 years ago. 26 years of waking up in a bed that is too large, walking into a kitchen that is too quiet, and making a single cup of coffee. My children visit on holidays. They bring their own kids now, teenagers themselves. They stay for an hour or two, eat a slice of pie, talk about the weather, check their watches, and say they need to get back on the road before traffic gets bad. I don't blame them. I taught them how to be this way. I taught them that busyness is virtue, that efficiency is more important than connection. I built the walls between us brick by brick, year by year, and now my hands are too old and weak to tear them down. You reach a point in life where apologies don't change the architecture of the relationships you've built. The time is gone, and time is the one currency you can never, ever earn back. I sit here in this chair, and the memories loop in my mind like an old film reel. I remember the smell of rain on the pavement outside our very first apartment. I remember the way Helen used to hum under her breath when she was folding the laundry in the hallway. I remember the exact weight of Sarah when she was a toddler, falling asleep on my chest before I gently moved her to her crib so I could get back to my desk to finish a report. I traded those moments. I bartered them away. For what? For an extra digit in a bank account that I now use to pay strangers to mow my lawn and clean my gutters. For a watch sitting in a drawer. For the approval of men who are all dead now anyway. The company I gave my best years to replaced me within a week of my retirement. I was a line item. I was a seat at a table. But to my wife, I was the only husband she had. To my kids, I was the only father they had. And I gave my best self, my most energetic years, to the people who cared about me the least. There are days when the loneliness is a physical weight. It sits heavy on my chest. It makes it hard to draw a full breath. I turn on the television just to hear human voices. I go to the grocery store, and I find myself talking to the cashier a little too long, just desperate for a tether, for a brief, fleeting connection with the living world. And now I guess I am talking into this digital void, reaching out to you. I don't know who you are. I don't know how old you are, or where you live, or what you do for a living. Maybe you are in your 30s, stressed out of your mind, staring at a screen right now, telling yourself you just need to push through this one project, and then you will finally focus on the people around you. Maybe you are sitting in your car in the driveway right now, the engine off, taking a deep breath before you go inside your house, because you are just so tired and you don't want to deal with the noise. I know that tiredness. I lived it. But I am telling you, from the end of the road, looking back at the entire map of my life, you are worrying about the wrong things. You think you are building a foundation for your family, but if you are never there to stand on it with them, it is just a slab of concrete. Look at the people in your home. Really look at them. When your partner asks you to come to bed, turn off the computer. When your child asks you to look at a drawing, stop what you are doing, crouch down, and look at it as if it is a masterpiece in a museum. Because one day they will stop asking. One day the house will be perfectly clean. The inbox will be empty. The bank account will be full. And it will be completely silent. You will have all the time in the world and no one left to share it with. Don't wait for the diagnosis. Don't wait for the moment when everything is finally settled. Life is never settled until you are in the ground. The messy, noisy, chaotic present, the spilled milk on the kitchen floor, the arguments over dinner, the sound of the television too loud in the next room. That isn't the obstacle keeping you from your life. That is your life. And it is terrifyingly brief. I would give everything I own, every penny in my accounts, this entire house, just to have one more regular, boring Tuesday evening from 40 years ago. Just to sit at the dinner table and hear the clatter of forks and the sound of my children bickering. But the universe doesn't take returns on wasted time, so you have to do it now. You have to put the phone down now. You have to look them in the eyes and be there, completely, entirely there. I am 91 years old. I make my tea. I sit by the window. I watch the sun go down over the street. I did what I thought was right at the time. I wasn't malicious. I was just blind. I hope you aren't blind. I hope you can see what you have before it becomes nothing but a memory. If my voice is reaching you right now, don't just nod your head and go back to scrolling. Go find the people you love. Tell them you are there. Let them know they matter more than whatever is on your screen.